I guess another thought that's coming to mind is just the um I guess I know I lost my train of thought. Um well, one of the thoughts was just that obviously in the my fantasy version of what I could achieve is to be very extreme, like in in some ways like a David Goggins style but approach but for creativity and production. At the same time, I, I think I did mention this before, but I did have this thought that the balance of being happy and more like a like a balanced version, like uh, while it's extremely impressive and very admirable to be at that extreme where David Goggins is. I'm obviously never been at that level in anything, right? And I think most people haven't either, but there's people who do really great stuff. Like I'm thinking Jocko again and like Joe Rogan. I think these are the people I come back to where they have more of a balance in my mind. Or maybe more Joe Rogan. I actually don't know that much about Jocko's um, style in reality. I just read his books, and they're really great books actually. But I do believe he's probably a lot more balanced. Um, and then I guess there's also like on the business side, there's Elon Musk, which is also an extreme version, which is even for the super high achieving business people, I think he's beyond them too. So he's like the David Goggins style, but for business is what some people might interpret. And um, so yeah, I guess at the end of the day, even getting a small taste is pretty cool. And so this little, um, yeah, I guess my mind went to this entrepreneur that talked about doing, I'm blanking on the name, but basically he did some time with Goggins in his house where he got trained by him or worked out with Goggins, basically like a drill sergeant approach before Goggins was famous. But then he also talked about doing a monk retreat in I think the U.S. somewhere in New York maybe. And I don't remember quite how long it was, but he said it was very tough, right? And it was not that long, and it was tough even after doing the Goggins thing because it was a mental version spiritual thing, which he said he hadn't spent a lot of time doing. And so in my mind, I guess kind of what I'm doing right now feels a lot like that, and I can see how it could be so tough, right? Um, so yeah, this is actually kind of promising. I mean, I don't have to do it for like an indefinite, super long period of time. I think even if I did it for a week or 14 days or whatever, because I can't remember what he said he did his, but let's say it was 14 days or 10 days. I think it was along around that time frame, maybe even a week, right? Um, I think that could be enough to reset, like detox, like a juicing cleanse for diets, right? You detox for a little bit so you can reset your taste buds. You do juices without sugar and just vegetables, which, to be honest, I tried to do that and it was horrible and it never worked for me. So that's the other thing. I think with the diet, I learned that you have to find your own path and not everything. I wrote a little article about how productivity and yeah, and diet are in this way where you can't just take somebody else's info as gospel, even though they're trying to help you. At the end of the day, you have to figure out your own way, and what works for you might not work for somebody else. So even though you want to help them, you might be misguided, and you just gotta find your own path. And I think with productivity, it's the same way. We have all these productivity systems, all these ways of doing things, and creativity. I think falls in the same um, vein where what somebody's system is, whether it's writing it by hand, your task list or deep works approach, right? or somebody else's system of get things done or whatever it is, it doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna work for you. You're probably gonna have to modify it, and at the end of the day, it, it might evolve. It might need evolving as you change, and it might not work for you all the time, and it might get stale or whatever. It might just stop working for some odd reason you can't pinpoint exactly, but you know it's just stopped working. And I think this is true for so many things that there's no one size fits all. It's just custom to you, and you're searching for that answer. So I guess that's what I'm doing at the end of the day, just searching for what can get me into a groove where I'm really happy, creating, being productive enough, and not burned out. And another another thought that came to mind is just Naval's approach of being more like a lion for tech workers, right? Where you do some sprints where you go super hard, and then you take some rest to reassess and evaluate what to do next. So I guess I could try that actually. I never really tried this explicitly. I think it just happens naturally where I've done some work and can be very productive, and then I need a lot of time off. But I think I've been doing too much time off, right? I think I'm being objective. I just been having the wrong balance, and maybe I'm trying what I always make a mistake of doing with habits, but I fixed that more recently, or not fixed it, but improved on it more recently. Is I don't try to take on too many habits at once and try to do too much because then I end up regressing. And it's like when you binge, right? Or when you do the opposite, when you're doing such a strict diet, which I used to do, and then like eating really low calories and measuring everything exactly. Now I don't need to measure the calories. I just eat and weigh myself daily. But I used to need to do that. I used to measure every single ingredient, everything with a food scale, everything I ate, and then logged it. And now I don't log, but I can sustain my weight more or less. But what used to happen is I used to binge eat on the weekends and just go off the rails. And maybe sometimes I'll do my progress. And now I kind of don't binge eat that much because I realized that I don't really enjoy binge eating as much as I thought I did. Like to some at some point it actually starts being enjoyable, right? Like you actually pass that threshold where you're getting the enjoyment and it now becomes painful. And it even doesn't taste as good as you imagine. Like you're just eating it because you bought it and you don't want to throw it away, or that's what I would do. Um, or you're watching a TV show and you just keep eating and eating and eating. That's one of my problems I used to have. So now back to the productivity stuff. If I go too extreme, I think in the other direction where it's to be too strict and do too much for too long, I think I need to find the equivalent of the diet, but for creativity and productivity, where I am happy with the balance that I reached, where I'm not taking too long of a break, but I'm also taking enough breaks. And so maybe I should explicitly say, hey, we're gonna do this little retreat for 2 days or 3 days and try different variations and seeing what works. Uh, yeah, so yeah, I've been going back to this thought of 2 days in one summary day where you just get all your stuff so you can produce some type of output. That's something that I do appreciate from James Victoria. I think he said something along the lines of you have to show the world what you're making, right? That's the trap. You do have to show it to other people, and that's I do want that. I do wanna. Part of me is like, oh, you can just keep all your art and stuff private, but obviously most people want their art to be out there and be seen by other people, and that's me right now at least. And so I'll produce it and put it out there. Maybe other people share the struggle too, right? And maybe they're also searching for something. Like I think one of the things that I found really helpful when I found it was Barbara Sher and her videos. And unfortunately, she's passed away now, but her videos, even though they're few, they're out there, and I watched basically maybe all of them or most of them. Also read her one of her books, maybe I'm forgetting the title, but the one that talks about just the concept of um, scanners and yeah, like the different types of people and how maybe you don't have to make money from your art. You can just have a good enough job. These ideas she put out there, I think, are great. And I know there's another girl slash lady who also talks about this in a TED talk, similar thing. And I'm not aware of anybody else who talks about this, but I'm sure other people do. And I I think just putting this type of stuff out there for other people to see, and um, I've appreciated when I see other people talk about this, how they struggle to focus on one thing. They want to learn a lot of stuff. I mentioned the video that I love is the one by a guy that had a near death experience, and then they started to create a lot of stuff that they were putting off, and they did it really quickly. And so that's the exciting part about this project that is really helping me do some of this stuff, and doing little weird voice acting and like making like a 1 sec, not 1 second, but a very quick comic that is not good but is in line, getting me towards that moving towards that direction, and writing a quick little poem. Like, none of this is expected to be good, it's just expected to be moving in the direction that I would want to be moving. So that's kind of it for now.